Well, hey everybody, welcome to today's session. We are so glad that you have joined us. We are talking about 5 things that you did not know that you could do with Nitrogen Complete. We're going to be walking through a lot of stuff today. So before we get to all of that, let's just spend just a small amount of time on housekeeping and just let you know where we all stand so we can all get on the same page. But Stephanie, as folks are joining in here, still coming in, let's just do some quick introductions. My name is Chris. I'm on the coaching team here, joined by my amazing, there are not enough adjectives, positive ones to describe her. Stephanie, how are you?
Yay, good. Thanks, Chris. I'm doing well. Excited to be here with everybody and go over a few little exciting things in Nitrogen Complete. Hopefully, everybody's Thursday is going well so far.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 things. So let's go on to the next slide here. And thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your screen with us here. Before we dive in, just a quick heads up, and we'll repeat this a couple times. This session is being recorded. So if you happen to miss something, had to get up and leave your desk for a little bit, don't worry. We'll be able to send out the recording to you afterwards. Everybody's going to get a copy. Hey, we do love to hear from you, and we want to hear from you. So we've got a couple of ways that you can chat with us. There's that chat bubble inside of your Zoom window there that you can do that. Also, if you have questions, and those will come up throughout today's session, you can go ahead and use that little Q&A box there. And we do ask if you have a question to use that Q&A box. That just helps our team track that. We've got some folks in the background that are helping us keep track of all of this. So please use that Q&A box there. We've got some resources in the resource tab. So your Zoom window there has a whole bunch of tools there at the bottom of the window there for you that you can click on as well. If you want to chat in right now and just let us know where you're calling in from, we just love to see where everybody's calling in from. And Stephanie, there might be a prize in it for somebody who lets us know. We're going to be keeping an eye on the chat. I don't know, some nitrogen swag. We'll give something away. Maybe we'll
We
call it out
do
here.
love to give away swag.
I do. That's the problem. They give me a little bit of a budget for this, and I'm like, yes, swag. So we'll.
Sign us up.
I wish I could go full Oprah style. Everybody gets a coffee, but we'll pick one. A couple winners here throughout today. There's another opportunity to get something here in just a little bit, and that's going to be when we launch a poll here in a little bit. So again, just to let us know your thoughts. We love for folks to participate when you have a chance. So please do that when we launch that, and we're going to go through these different features inside of Nitrogen Complete. Maybe some things that you knew about, maybe some things that you didn't know about that we want to run through. So asking your questions in that Q&A box, drop us a comment in that chat window there. And again, resources under that resource tab. So as we're getting into Nitrogen Complete here, why are folks using Nitrogen Complete? What is that? Well, let me set the basis for you. For those that might be joining in, maybe haven't even used nitrogen yet or thinking about using nitrogen, we have things called different centers. So we have things like Risk Center and Income Center and Research Center, and we've unbundled the bundle. So if you want to start with just some different features of nitrogen, you can do that. If you want to package them all together, we have a thing called Nitrogen Elite. And then one level above that is Nitrogen Complete, where we have all of the things basically under one umbrella here in Nitrogen with your subscription there. So including things like Risk Center, where the Nitrogen risk assessment tool, portfolio tools, proposal tools, Income Center, doing some financial planning there with retirement maps, income by source, so we can kind of look at how accounts are transitioned down in retirement. Things like Tax Center and Legacy Center, all of that falls under the umbrella of Nitrogen Complete. So all of that is included in Nitrogen Complete. So no toggling between tools or re-entering data. It's all there. Client ready outputs, reports that come in there that you have deliverables for your clients, for your prospect. We're going to show you some custom branding in that today, so stay tuned for that. And designed around client workflows and compliance aware outputs. So again, making sure that we're tying everything, pretty much everything that Nitrogen has to offer is under this complete umbrella. So that's what we're excited to bring in a little bit more today and what all is there for you. So as we're moving through those things, Stephanie, we're going to launch a poll here in a little bit, but would you just walk us through again a little bit more of what complete is and make sure that we know, maybe we think we've got another slide here that kind of shows us so we can kind of get a glance at these things just to make sure. I might have forgotten a couple too and what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So, yes, we are going to launch that poll. We want to hear from you about which tool in Nitrogen Complete you're most curious about. So, definitely give us that feedback there. When we're thinking about, just as Chris was describing, what is Nitrogen Complete to begin with? Um, you have five different of those core centers, those five products built in along with a few sort of tangential pieces that come with Complete. Like Chris mentioned, it's pretty much everything that Nitrogen has available for individual advisors, small firms, larger firms. Nitrogen Complete, you get a lot under the hood. So the ability to, document risk numbers and create portfolios and proposals, do your research and fund screening and discovery inside of one platform, talk about retirement income planning in one platform, taxes, legacies, even estate planning, things like that. That would come with Complete as well. And we have AI tools threaded throughout them also. So if you do want the whole kit and caboodle, the whole package, we have AI tools, our Nucleus AI powered assistant in there as well, threaded throughout all the different products. So as you're using them, you can interact and have that tool help you with things along the way. So yeah, there's a lot in Nitrogen Complete. We wouldn't want you to sit through a whole webinar going through everything that it does. So that's why we've selected just five workflows and things that you can do with Complete that you may or may not know about. So we'll show those off to you live and in the product today. So excited for you to follow along and definitely share with us in that poll what you're most curious about. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, and for folks that are responding to that poll, if you haven't, there's we'll do some more swag. We'll announce some winners here towards the end there for just chatting in with us and then answering that poll. But yeah, as Stephanie said, there's a lot going on there, and really what we want to help folks understand with Nitrogen Complete and Nitrogen in general is it's equipping financial advisors again with that suite of AI powered products to showcase the value of your advice so that we can attract clients and keep them fearless. That's the core messaging of Nitrogen. We want to make sure that you know that. So, Stephanie, we should just hop in. I think enough pre-game in it here. I think we should just hop in and show these
Let's
five
do it.
things that folks may or may not know about that we want to highlight today.
Absolutely. So, coming in our little impromptu countdown here today, at number five, what we want to show you is Nucleus, that AI powered assistant. So, you may have seen us show off Nucleus before, but we always like to mention it to folks and have you think about all the different kinds of things that it can do. So, I've opened up my client list here. I'm actually going to search for a client and take us right into the profile. So where Nucleus is right now is going to be inside of the client profile. So you can open up any client, if it's a current client, a prospect, and Nucleus may pop open automatically on the left-hand side. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Chris, for highlighting that. Or if you see this gray column on the left-hand side of your profile, you can open that up, and that's where you have a conversation with Nucleus. Now I'm going to scroll my screen down a little bit so we get a bit more of a view. You can see here I've chatted with a little bit, so I'm going to start a new conversation with this little plus sign. But think of this as your kind of virtual admin or an intern, maybe. Like, what could you ask it to do? What sort of like data management, data entry could you have the AI help you with? There's a lot of different things it can do as that sort of agentic tool built directly into Nitrogen, so that hopefully we can take some of the workload, some of those small repetitive tasks, take it off your plate. You can just ask Nucleus to help you with that. So if you wanted to say, send a client or prospect a questionnaire, you could ask it to do that. One of the things I love to mention is you no longer have to do the data entry. you or a member of your team, you can attach statements right here into Nucleus and say, hey, scan this statement and put it into the client's current portfolio. Excuse me. And it'll do that for you. So it'll create a portfolio. You can tell it to put a model inside of a proposal. One thing that I was actually just talking with an advisor about the other week, they were asking, okay, I need some inspiration for sending an email to my clients to introduce the risk questionnaire and the risk number. And they were like, do you have an email template that I could use to email my clients? And so I went in and made them a quick little video and was like, hey, come in and ask Nucleus to draft you an email to send to my client that introduces the risk questionnaire. So you can do that. If you want it to help you kind of draft messaging or things like that, give it an action. There you go. It gives you a subject line, some content. It'll oftentimes show you where you can insert the link for the questionnaire. So have it do things. A lot of times too, if you'd and there we go, it even offers a next step. Would you like me, Nucleus, to send the risk questionnaire directly to Mark since we have an email? I could say yes and have that tool do that as well. So just think about any type of question that you can ask it. We're going to keep a whole history of the chats that you have with Nucleus based on your specific clients. Nucleus can now also refer to anything in nitrogen and anything in a CRM if you've connected CRMs, which include Redtail, Salesforce, and Wealthbox. So any of those. Um, it can sort of scan for information in your notes and client info and be able to pull up details, save details, do things for you. Um, it's really cool. We always like to say too, you can ask it, what can it do for you? The great thing is too, I'll demonstrate you can ask it to do something and it'll give you the approve capability as well. So you as the advisor will always have full control. So we're going to say change typing and talking. It's live here. You you get it as you get it. Change the client's retirement year to 2032 in the retirement map. So a part of Income Center is the retirement map. So I can have Nucleus rather than me click through it and do all the changes manually. I can ask it to do that. It's going to change it. And then it'll say create or approve. Is it okay to proceed? So yes, you still have that full control to make sure that it's updating things as it should. And then, yeah, there we go. Our Income Center retirement map is updated for the retirement year of 2032. So you'll see those changes happen live in the product and you don't have to go and do them manually. So hooray. I think I've talked a lot about Nucleus. Go in there, give it a test. Chris, anything you want to add before we jump to number 4 in our countdown?
I'll add, Stephanie, really great ideas there. That's one of the things that from the last time that we talked about it, just the idea of drafting an email. This is constantly changing. It's agentic AI, so it's working on the advisor's behalf, not only kind of coaching or giving suggestions, but also doing actions there inside of Nitrogen. So a really great feature. I love that email. If you're looking for ideas, we've actually got a PDF in the resources center there in Zoom here. So on your Zoom window there, you click on the resources option, and there's a PDF that you can download. I think it's called Try These Prompts or Nucleus Prompting Guide. So if you want some ideas just to get started, or like Stephanie said, you can say, hey, what should I do next? I had an advisor, Stephanie, that emailed and had a lot of questions. And I said, hey, I'm happy to talk to you more about that, but here's what I want you to do. You have access to Nucleus. And by the way, gang, if you're using Nitrogen right now, we encourage you to log in if you have an account and follow along with us. If you're just checking out Nitrogen, we're really happy to show you you these things and what you can do, but log in and start to give it a try. Now, not everybody, there's still some firms that are still waiting for compliance approval on this. So just a heads up, if you're not seeing some of the things that we're talking about, like Nucleus, still working on getting those approved across the board. But if you see it, we encourage you to do it. So for instance, how do I explain the 95 historical range to this client? Or how should I prep for this client meeting, right? Like asking questions like that. What's the difference between stress tests? Can you tell me all of the different widgets inside of detailed portfolio stats? How do I talk to those about or with my client? Or what do those even mean? I'm an advisor trying to learn the platform right now. Can you explain this to me? And I tried it, and Stephanie, I got to tell you, there were things that as a coach that were in my brain, it kind of had there and it used. And so we're constantly feeding it all of our documentation. So it's basically got our brains there, and it's using those to help you as well to not only do things on your behalf, but give you talking points and coach you. So we've spent a lot of time on this, Stephanie, but thank you for demonstrating there and how Nucleus can do that for you. And I will point out even one of the things right there. There's a little talk button. So if you just want to speak out your thoughts and just say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and not type it all, go to town, do the thing. So lots of options that you can do inside of Nucleus there. So that's number 5. Let's move on to number 4. And just a reminder, this is being recorded. So you will get a copy of the recording, and we will send that out afterwards and go through all of these things with you. So number 4 here. Let's go on. We're going to talk about custom branding for reports. So we talked a lot about, hey, here's what it's doing for you, whether it's before the meeting, prepping for that meeting, during the meeting. It's always nitrogen. Riskalyze before that has always meant to be very client facing, and after the meeting, whether we're sending out things like check-ins or printing up reports, sending out reports, we want to make sure that this is something that clients really love to see. So making that love even deeper love and deeper branding is reports branding. Stephanie, I was trying to be creative and I kind of failed on that. So let's just go to the firm tab there, and we're going to go to, we could click anywhere. We could go to strategies or holdings or users. We just want to get inside of this firm wide option here and click on menu up at the top right there and click on firm settings. And if you've got Nitrogen Complete, you have access to this. So we'll see where Stephanie's circling right there, and I'll just highlight it, where it's called report branding. So often folks say, like, I don't know what I don't know. What do I have access to? What can I do? And we call these some of these hidden gems inside of Nitrogen here. So whether it's putting in your logo there, again, if I want to cross it to all the offices in the firm, so if I'm doing some firm-wide management here, if we have several offices that use the same logo, we can do that. We can adapt our brand colors. So these little fun things called hex codes that lock in those colors. We can do a primary and a secondary color in there. To do that, again, we could lock it across the firm if we need it. So it gives you some options there. And then that contact information. Do we want to show that advisor's name on the printer reports? Do we want to make it more generic across the firm? We can do that. So pretty basic going through there, but also gives you a lot more control over what those reports look like, what those deliverables look like, not only for your firm but for your clients there, to keep that that recognizable look going all the way throughout there. So that is report branding. Again, how we got there. So we clicked on, if you're inside of Nitrogen, we clicked on the firm up at the top there, that option called firm, and then brought us in here to our firm, different firm controls. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So we could click on any one of those holdings, strategies, etc., and then clicked on menu up at the top right there, and then clicked on firm settings. So again, that's how we got to that report branding. But Stephanie, while we're here, the next thing that we actually did want to count down here, number 3 is our custom strategies. So oftentimes we have firms that want to come through and like, hey, we use these things. We're inside of the Nitrogen. You've got a lot in there with looking at all of the underlying holdings, but we have custom strategies that we use. How can we start to incorporate those into Nitrogen? And that's where custom strategies comes into play. Now you can see that we've got some listed in here, but with Nitrogen Complete access to these firm setting, you can put in your own custom strategies. So to do that, we have a button there called Add Custom Strategy up at the top there. Now, I do want to make a note here that when you're adding custom strategies in there, that might take up to 24 hours to populate across the platform. So if you're putting them in and you don't see them right away, there's just a little heads up for you that that might take a little bit of time. But when we're doing that, you just go through the steps here. We've got our ticker name. We can choose a ticker to go through it so that we have our custom ticker there and enter the name of it. So you can see how we want to go through this XYZ. Perfect. And then if we want to name that, whatever we want to show that up when or have that show up as we're searching, we can do that. Now, when it comes to the performance, because that's important, we could upload that return history there, or we could enter in a custom scenario. So if you're familiar with working in nitrogen, if you ever have worked in custom scenarios before, we can do that either way. So that return history or custom scenario to make sure that we're tracking all of that through nitrogen, populating that risk number there. Any underlying holdings that we want to put in there to calibrate this investment, you can kind of see what we're guiding you through there. You can drag and drop those files there. We even have a template here if you're like, how do I do that? What do I need there? That template will help you get all of those underlying holdings for that strategy there. And then once it's done, we can go ahead and click on save. And again, that'll save it here. You'll see your list of custom strategies start to populate here. Again, reminder, it might take about 24 hours for it to populate across the platform there. But once they are there, when you're building out a client's portfolio, if you're searching for these holdings like you would search for any other holding like QQQ or whatnot, you can start searching for these custom strategies and enter those in, for instance, in a client's portfolio, in a model, etc. So that's custom strategies. Stephanie, anything that I missed on number 4 and number 3 here that you can think of, whether it comes to that custom branding for the reports or anything with custom strategies?
Yeah, luckily the custom branding is pretty straightforward. So even if you're a solo shop and you'd like to match kind of your deliverables with your website sort of branding, you could do that really easily with Complete. Custom strategies is cool too. We've heard a lot of firms, if they're a little bit larger, maybe you have kind of multiple offices. If you set up a ticker symbol here in strategies, anyone under that sort of umbrella of your firm who uses nitrogen can access those ticker symbols. So it can save a lot of time for lots of advisors, not having to go in and manually enter in the downside and the upside inside of nitrogen to customize it. It can already be customized and just ready to pull. So a huge benefit there if you use even a handful of custom securities or strategies, you can have all of that performance loaded into nitrogen pretty easily. Yeah, lots of
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Chris, for walking us through number 4 and number 3 here on sort of the firm-wide side of nitrogen. I'm going to take us back to kind of that client-facing side, and take us to number 2 in today's countdown of sorts. And that's going to be Tax Center, what you can do to have tax conversations with clients and prospects directly inside of nitrogen. So I'm going to pull up our sample client here. And with Complete comes the Tax Center tab. We have lots of tabs. We're getting more tabs in nitrogen. We like to make sure you have lots of tools. So with the taxes tab, you're able to upload a client's 1040. So whether that's last year's or the year before, you can load up those 1040 documents. You can put in whether it's an individual, if it's a household, married filing separately, married filing jointly. You can make those sort of designations, upload the 1040, and then you get a few things that can help facilitate these tax conversations. One being the snapshot. So it's this sort of tax summary dashboard that you get based on the 1040 that you upload. Yeah, Chris was probably highlighting that snapshot tab. I started moving the screen. So with the snapshot, you get all that complicated tax information in a lot more of a client-friendly format. So I myself am not a financial professional. nor a tax professional. And I can even come in and look at these, and it kind of makes sense. If I were your sort of typical client, you could come in and very easily show me this tax snapshot and say, hey, here's your gross income, here's your tax brackets, dividends, state income tax brackets, different things like that, deductions, charitable deductions, all sorts of things. So the AI tool is scanning through to slice and dice all of this data for you so that you can have this really nice, pretty dashboard, this nice visible dashboard to show to clients and prospects. I think we heard from one advisor one time who worked with, I want to say like maybe a CPA, someone who was like an actual like tax professional. The one individual, the one advisor focused on like the financial advising, and then with prospects, they would show off this tax snapshot and then loop in like the CPA or the tax professional that they worked alongside to let them know, hey, we can take this to the next level. But here's sort of a preview. So, tax snapshot, really great for facilitating those client and prospect conversations. Newer, we also have insights that are like AI powered insights. But one of the newer components is the Roth conversion calculator. So, this is super fun too. If you want to be able to come in and kind of play around with the numbers of, hey, maybe you have a traditional IRA, maybe you're in your 30s. What do we think about moving that over to Roth? Does it balance out? Over time, could we get you some tax savings? Things like that. You can toggle around to the different time frames, different conversion amounts. And these visuals will show you the impact if the client converted to a Roth or didn't convert to a Roth. So you have some options here to enter in to kind of play around with those Roth conversion illustrations specifically. So that's newer. And that's really cool to be able to come in and illustrate that for clients and prospects as well. So that's the Roth conversion and the snapshot dashboard. Now it is kind of tucked away. I'm going to mention it as like a bonus little nugget here as a part of Tax Center. You can add scenarios in Tax Center as well now. So you have this add scenario button that would be included with Tax Center. And this is where you can come in and run things through. Okay, what if our filing status changed? What if we're single now, but in a couple years we get married? What if we move? You can run through different things like that to change um, locations and things like that. So I think we're going to have kind of more and more coming into the tax scenarios, but you can change those assumptions and edit those and run through some different situations that way with tax scenarios as well. So yeah, that's a little bit on Tax Center. Some of the highlights. Again,
Mhm.
today we're showing you highlights. We're not going to go into like every single tool that you'd have because that would honestly take us all way too long. So, Chris, anything you would add here before we take it to number one in our countdown?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Stephanie. Complete Nitrogen Complete includes things like Tax Center here and includes things like Legacy Center that we're going to show you. We're going to finish things. Spoiler, I just ruined number one, but there we go. That's coming up. That would be add-ons otherwise to Nitrogen. So even if you had Nitrogen Elite, which has basically all of our centers, Tax Center and Legacy Center are still add-ons, but with Complete, again, it's all underneath that umbrella right there. So with Complete, you're getting the Tax Center and the Legacy Center here. So one thing I would say too, we have our Insights tab right here. So this, as the advisor, would walk you through some of those things that we're looking at in that 1040. Again, this is a 1040 that is being uploaded and we're drawing these insights from. So if you wanted to go through here, again, where maybe we're offering some more thoughts and food for thought for our clients to think about. I love what you said, Stephanie. Advisors are using this or telling us they're using this in prospecting to say, this is what we could bring to you. This is what we could bring to the table as we're considering more of a holistic approach to your financial journey here. So again, we have different things there, and we're not going to cover it all. And we don't need to go there, but there are also report elements when it comes to the tax center here, which like that snapshot report. We have a few other things here that you can print out as printable elements here underneath tax center. So that's that tax center. So again, feel free if you've got access to it to give it a try. If not, we're going to give you a way here near the end that we can have our team give you a demo of this and maybe check out a little bit more of that. But let's move on here to number one. We're headed over to Legacy Center, and that's where, thank you, Stephanie, for the reminder. I'm going to share my screen here because we've got that ready to go over here. And so Legacy Center kind of keeping the theme here of looking in what we've got here across across this board here, all these tabs that we've got here to choose from. I'll just recap real quick. So maybe you're new to nitrogen, or you're just checking out and seeing what all the hubbub is about. You don't have an account with us. I'll give you a quick overview. So when in nitrogen, we've got this thing called a risk number, basically helping folks understand where, from a quantitative perspective, where they stand when it not only comes to risk, but also looking at their portfolio, looking at their personal risk number. So Dave here, Dave Worrywell, is a prospect that came in and he went through that risk assessment. He says at 29. And I could say, well, Dave, you're conservative. What does that mean? Conservative, that's subjective. It could mean something different to you than it does to me than to the next person that walks into the room. So Dave, I want to see what your thumbprint is, what your fingerprint is, what your sleep number is. We could use a speed limit sign as a popular reference of what that number looks like. Okay, Dave, let me see how you're currently invested right now. Well, when I entered in your portfolio here, your portfolio with all of your underlying accounts there's four or five accounts in that portfolio. You came in at a risk number 41. And by the way, the GPA is a 1.0. So just think about that, Dave. Just think about school GPA. If you have a 1.0 in school, your GPA is not, you're not doing too well. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a proposal here. And I'm going to have this proposal here for you. We're going to make it a 33, more in line with what you told us you're comfortable with as a 29, and see what that looks like. Also, look at the GPA. We're going ahead of the class here with a 4.3. So you can kind of see how nitrogen is really helping quantify and helping clients and prospects visualize through this investment journey, not only where they're comfortable with, but how we're creating portfolios and illustrating and showing those portfolios to them to make sure that we're keeping them fearless and keeping them invested in the long term. Then we could tag on invest our income center there, which basically is this retirement map here. We say, okay, that's all great, but how are we going to end up long term here? What's the long term picture with some higher level financial planning conversations? A lot of advisors like to start here, especially with a prospect. Maybe I'm not going to build them out a full financial plan, but I can go through the context of the portfolio data that we have in here, of that risk number data that we have in here, and say, hey, Dave, because you told me that you're a 29 and I'm going to put you in a 30, is that actually going to get us where we need to go? And we can take a look at the long term here, that risk capacity with that retirement map there under income center. Also looking at things like income by source, like where is that income going to be drawn down when we get into retirement, and where are those account balances? How are we going to spend down those accounts? So this is a little bonus. This is a little side quest on the side of the five things, but I want you to understand how this is all interacting together in nitrogen, how we're gathering this information for Dave. For instance, his personal risk number, his portfolio information with all of those underlying accounts there. So if I want to see these accounts for Dave, we also have integrations to pull this information in, whether it's, a CRM or a custodian, we can link with those to pull that in here. We can work up a proposal without an annuity or with an annuity. We can draft up several proposals as we're going through this process. We can have all of this data. And now what are we going to do once the client they've spent a lifetime putting this all together and we're guiding them? What do we do? What are the next steps as we're starting to think about the legacy and where that comes in? I'm going to click on legacy right here, those beneficiaries. When it comes to the next steps after we've done our work here, Stephanie, I'm trying to avoid when we move on, but when we move on past this life, what are our kids, what are our grandkids, what are some institutions that we want to give to? How are they going to benefit from the work that we've done? Now, normally, a lot of times that money follows the relationship. So whether it's the relationships that the beneficiaries, the kids, the inheritors who they have already, or maybe another organization has somebody that they're using. And so the advisor that's been spending their all this time with the client, all of a sudden they're out of the picture because I don't know. I haven't started those conversations. So that's where in Legacy Center we want to start help the advisors have those and start those conversations with that next generation. So Dave, when we go over to his Legacy Center, we haven't started setting that up for him, but you can see kind of the bones of how we're doing this, what his estate's going to look like, how many accounts that we have inside of his portfolio information that we have already, how those are going to be allocated, anything that we have with his accounts. This is all feeding from his portfolio, right? We don't know where those are going or how Dave wants to have those distributed once Dave is done with his time here on the earth. So we could add in things like beneficiaries. We can add those. Is it children? Is it grandchildren? Is it an organization? Maybe it's a nonprofit that Dave wants some of his money to go to. We can add in different accounts and trusts. So we have his accounts here. Do I want to add in any other kind of a thing like a trust? I've got a trust button here where we can start to bring that information in, have that conversation. And then if we've got life insurance policies, what's that going to look like? Who is that money going to go to once Dave passes yet? So we'll see that we can kind of go through these tabs here and add different policies. Now let me go. I'm going to go to one that I've got filled out here. Let's go to Diane Littman here, and we're going to look at her legacy setup right here. So I've got right now looking at her projected estate value. What if I want to look at her current estate value? How are we looking right now? What do we have there with her total estate? How much is that looking right now? Her living trust that we've got in there, her different accounts that we have in here. We've got beneficiaries. So we've got Scott entered in as a child. We've got Susan, a child. We've got Tanner, a grandchild. We even have a nonprofit here, an organization here where we can see where is that money going and who's getting what as we look at Susan and Scott and Tanner and the organization here. Again, do we want to add in that trust? How much is being allocated to each individual when it comes to the trust? To the 401k, how are we allocating that between Scott and Susan? How are we allocating that Roth? How are we allocating the funds for Tanner here, the grandchild? What does that look like? So we can go through and again, really help map all of this out. If we have a life insurance policy, 100% of that is going to an organization there. So you can see how we can break down all of these different elements here and show how they're going to go out. And then as our team is getting the next step here, it's called a legacy key. So how do we have a branded way to communicate with these individuals with, because it's all well and good that we have it in here for Scott and Susan and Tanner and Grace Community Church, but how do they know? Well, how do they know that they're a part of this? Maybe Diane tells them about that. How do they get a hold of you? Once it's time to start talking about how these are going to now be distributed, it's a thing called legacy key to open up those lines of communication so that it's not just you're the advisor all of a sudden, Diane has passed on and now we're like, what do we do with this? Well, you're already having the conversation and it allows them to reach out to you so that we can start to work out what we've worked out with Diane once she has passed away. So that is Legacy Center here inside of Nitrogen, helping to help facilitate and bring in those conversations around that estate, around the insurance, around the trust, to really help them see how their money is going to be distributed once they have done their work here on this earth. So that is the number one thing there that we wanted to show you inside of Nitrogen, part of Nitrogen Complete, normally an add-on, but with Complete, it is complete. It is in there. It is complete. So we can have it all part there. So that is the five things. Stephanie, anything else to add to that before we get on to our Q&A here?
No, I don't think so. I'll just pull this up here to remind everybody kind of what we talked about. Obviously, there's a lot of centers and a lot of capabilities and tools that would come with Complete. We showed you the Nucleus AI capability that's built into Complete, along with the custom branding and custom strategies that come with sort of that firm-wide view in Complete, and then Tax Center and Legacy Center. Just a few things that you can do with those tools. So lots there, lots under the hood. And thanks, Chris, too, for kind of orienting us for anyone who's not super familiar with nitrogen, the risk number, what we do as a whole here. That was super helpful. So next steps in terms of what you can do after today, if you have nitrogen, maybe you're like, oh, actually, I have complete and I have more questions. You can ask them today, or you can join us for our weekly office hours. We host office hours so that advisors can pop in, pop out, ask questions. It's not just for folks who have complete. If you have nitrogen, any sort of access to nitrogen, and you want to pop in and ask us a question, definitely do that. We'll drop a link in the chat. If you have another level of nitrogen and you really loved what you saw today and you want to upgrade to complete, you can email our team hello@nitrogenwealth.com. You can email there to get more details about upgrading or leveling up your subscription. And if you're totally new, you can request a larger demo. So if you want to see kind of those risk number components, the questionnaire, portfolios, learn a little bit more about it and how it can plug into your firm and your practice, you can request a demo. We'll drop a link for that as well in chat. So go open up the chat at the bottom of Zoom if you're not joining us there already. And we'd love to help you. So, no matter where you're at today, if you want to learn more, if you want to change your subscription or anything like that, we are always here and available to help. So, with that, we are going to prepare for our Q&A time. So, again, hopefully you've been dropping those questions as they've popped into your mind in the Q&A section at the bottom of Nitrogen. So we'll jump into those questions. We've been fielding them, jotting them down as you've been asking them. So we'll go live into those questions and make sure we get all of your questions answered today.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining in and being with us here today. Lots of good questions coming through, so we're going to do our Q&A. Before we do that, we're going to launch a poll here because we just want to get your thoughts on a few things here. So if you wouldn't mind taking just a little bit, it's going to pop up on your screen there. Give us a little bit of feedback. Also, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about Complete, if you're using Complete, we'd love to know that as well. We had some questions in there around, hey, where are some of this? What subscription level is this in? Is this a part of? It is part of Nitrogen Complete. So for those of you that were wondering, that is what we were doing. And just want to let you know that before we kind of get to our Q&A here, we've got with Complete, we have a bit of an exclusive promotion going on there. Now, our friends with LPL, Nick, we'll talk about that. We have our special guest, Nick, joining us here just as far as access to all the features in Complete. Still getting some of those things approved with on the LPL side. So, Nick, maybe you can give us a little bit more detail here in just a little bit. But hey, we're running a promotion right now in the month of June on Nitrogen Complete. So this is a good time to join in on the conversation about that. Includes things like Tax Center, Legacy Center. They're all part of that bundle there. So you're getting a whole lot of things. Risk Center, research centers, stuff that we've shown you, income center, tax center, legacy center, and firm controls, all of that. Definitely bang for the buck there. I think normally if you had that all bundled together, it's about $700 a month. Well, in the month of June, we're putting all of that together, a Nitrogen Complete subscription for $419. We're running that promotion this month. Plus, I guess we'll be sending you, our marketing team said, if you sign up too, we'll send you a $100 Amazon gift card as well for all of your summer shopping needs. So basically all of those tools for your practice there inside of Nitrogen Complete. Again, our most complete package there, and we're running a special instead of $700, $419 there. Promotion this month plus a $100 Amazon gift card. All right, so we checked that off. Pitch Guy, we checked that off there. Stephanie, thanks so much for joining me here too, and Nick. I want to get to some of the questions here as we are going through the questions that were coming in. Stephanie, I'm going to put this first one over to you. Can you input a client's budget? Where would you input these expenses?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Great question. So I'm going to pull up our screen here. Let's get an account up. So what I would recommend if you're talking with clients about expenses or budgetary items, things like that, that's a great place to jump into the retirement map or income center. So income center is a part of Elite. It would be in Complete or Income Center if you have that as an add-on. So here is where you can come in. At the bottom, you can put in like retirement budget amounts, like how much monthly cash are they going to need to budget and live off of during retirement. You can put that in to the retirement map. You can also use this side column on the right. This opens up timeline and you can add in other income, other life expenses, what have you. You can layer in as many things as you want to here in the retirement map via the timeline drawer, sort of on the right hand side. So that's probably the best place in nitrogen to illustrate budgets, incomes, expenses, really high level. And then if you have another retirement planning tool that can go into like detailed cash flow planning, you can always transition the conversations over there. But this is great for quick, high level conversations.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. And thanks for the extra visuals there. Appreciate that. Nick, as our special guest coming in here and joining us, so I'll throw this one to you. Actually, really great question here. Can nitrogen retrieve info from Holistiplan? We've been talking to things like Tax Center and all the different things that nitrogen's introducing, kind of brings along the thoughts of Holistiplan there. Can you help us out with that one?
Great question. Thanks so much for asking it. Thanks for having me on there, Chris and Stephanie. So right now it does not, but I love the idea. In fact, we were talking about it last week as a team of being able to kind of ingest that information from places like Holistiplan and other areas, and then finding a way to actually like send something off to providers like Holistiplan, maybe your Jumps, your Zox, a couple different integrations there, other estate planning areas like that. So we got that in the old idea machine, and we'll capture that for you. So thanks for offering it. But right now, not yet, but we do have it on our roadmap to add sometime in the future.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, going through the questions here. I don't have these options. What subscription level is needed for this? Hey, great question. So it's Nitrogen Complete is the subscription level to capture all of those things. I just ran you through the whole thing there, the whole spiel. We're running a special promo here for the month of June instead of about $700. It's a little over $400 a month there. So we put it in the poll there. If you're interested, you can still, if you missed that poll, you can put your name in the chat there. We'll follow up. Also, we've got our team, our engineers are just going, they're cranking along and cranking stuff out here. We have a lot of stuff on the horizon. So if things like life insurance, long-term insurance, long-term care, if those are things that interest you, we are looking for some beta testers with some stuff that we have got cooking in the nitrogen lab. So if you're interested in being perhaps considered by our team to be a beta tester in the chat there, if you wouldn't mind putting the word beta in there, and no, I promise it's not a reflection on any personality type. We just would want you to put beta in the chat there. If you would like our team to reach out to you to see if you'd be interested in testing some of these features that we have coming up, kind of be on the bleeding edge of nitrogen technology there. So again, if you want to put beta in the chat there, we'll be sure to follow up there with you. Stephanie, got another question coming your way. Does Nitrogen Elite have the custom strategies feature, or is that an add-on?
Yeah, great question. Custom strategies would not come with Elite, but it would come with Complete. I'm actually going to circle this over to a question too that Alyssa just posted. If you have a bunch of like models with different holdings and things that are constantly changing, are custom strategies the best way to import all of these? I would say yes. So custom strategies is great if you want to show like the overall performance of a model, of a strategy, that maybe the underlying pieces change regularly. Custom strategies is a great place to build that out. And again, that would be included with complete, nitrogen complete, but not elite. So it's a pretty cool tool.
Awesome. Thanks. You. Thank you for answering that. Hey, quick shout out. Oh, yes, Nick. Sorry, I didn't leave time for any
No, I
follow-up.
was
Go
going to
ahead.
say one of
You
the
raised your
aspects
hand.
that I think we showed about that strategies builder is that you can put in that performance, like Stephanie mentioned, and the underlying holdings at that time. So both of those, that combination is kind of a powerhouse for any of those custom strategies, SMAs. So try down the fairway there. Just adding in that one piece of benefit. Sorry for jumping in and out there, Chris. Looks like your internet was going out.
Nope, you checked off the golf lingo for our bingo cards today, so I appreciate it. And I also appreciate you and Stephanie coordinating your shirts and not letting me know. So thanks for that, guys. Moving on here, a shout out from TL for the externship. So glad that you are joining us. New to Nitrogen Externship 2026. Let's go. TL, you basically rang in before anybody rang in and said hello from Houston, Texas. So you, my friend, are getting some nitrogen swag. We said we give some of that away as well. And we put out, we grabbed one more person at random. That shout out to Andrew Mason, Newburgh, Oregon, also for letting us know where you're coming from. So some nitrogen swag coming your way. But TL, you can be the envy of all of your externship classmates there as you're starting to learn nitrogen. So thanks so much for joining us today. Next question here, Nick, on the legacy section, can we add mimic the fair market value per real estate or for estate planning?
What a great question. Way to pass me the curveballs there, my friend. So
That's what I live
long
for.
long story is, yes, I'm going to send a request to share my screen here really quickly. Um, After we've got that going on. So I've already built something out in my nitrogen account. So we're going to dive in. This is halfway all the way built. If you like how that is halfway all the way. So here's what I've done, folks. I've created a house custom investment. We didn't walk through this workflow today, so we can give you that insight a little bit later if you're interested in that. And I basically said like, hey, this house is worth $500,000, and I'm saying the fair market value today is $500,000. And as you see here, I'm fixing the best and worst case, meaning this is not going to lose or gain any value. Now, I know that that's not historically accurate, but the way that I'm interpreting the question is, how do I model this in Legacy Center with maybe no movement with fair market value as of today? If I want to change that value to increase over time, I'd add a little bit of the best case. I could add some worst case if I wanted to have some fluctuation in there. But the main question is, how does that impact Legacy Center? Chris, great question. So glad you asked. Let's click on that Legacy tab, shall we? You see here that I've actually put that house in the trust, and I did that because I want to remove it from the retirement calculations. And as you see here, the projected amount is $500,000, which is the fair market value. So I think I took that complicated question, broke it down step by step. If that doesn't scratch your itch, as the old adage would say, contact us at support@nitrogenwealth.com. We'd be happy to help you out. But I think I landed the plane. But anything from this Stephanie or Chris show before I put myself back on mute?
I think we're good.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you so much for tackling that one. Stephanie, coming your way here on this one. Are you able to assign different risk numbers to different goals and assign accounts to those goals, such as education, retirement, large purchases? In many cases, people have very different risk scores when it comes to education versus retirement versus legacy accounts.
Yeah, great question. I think that one came from Matthew. To a degree, I would say yes. Let me pull up my screen here. So with the risk number area in nitrogen, we've heard from advisors who use the questionnaire to have clients think about certain buckets of money. So if you want to have them walk through the questionnaire and think, okay, we're going to think about your, kids' education savings, think about that when you're considering risk versus, your retirement savings, thinking about that through the lens of risk. You can do that here through the questionnaire and have different risk numbers as sort of a bucket approach. And then in the portfolio, if you have multiple accounts, of course, this one's not a great example because there's only one account. But if you have multiple accounts, each account gets its own risk number based on the underlying holdings. Now, we don't have a way for you to like assign risk number goals to like specific accounts. But if this were, account number one, retirement, whereas maybe one of their other accounts is an education or, taxable, non-taxable, qualified, non-qualified, however you want to label those, each account would show as a different risk number. So that's a great way in the portfolio to illustrate for clients how some of your different approaches may take on a little bit more risk, whereas some may take on a little less risk. But overall, it will get them a total risk number.
Love it. Nick, before I move on, anything else to add? Or next question's coming your way anyway, so keep yourself off of mute.
That was so good. I don't want to ruin it.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's move on. Nick, how do you communicate with Benny? And I'm guessing that's not Benny and his friends, the Jets there.
Oh, you
I
stole
think
my joke. Yeah.
sorry, I knew it was coming. I think we're talking about beneficiaries when we were talking about Legacy Center, I believe is when that one came in there.
Absolutely. Well, hey, right now it's not in Legacy Center, but it is coming. This idea of Legacy Key, which is going to provide the path for you to talk to your, first of all, your clients and say, hey, here's our legacy map, here's all the details. And then you want to tell that client, hey, I'm going to send an email. Once you give me your email, those email addresses to all your beneficiaries, I'm going to send an email to them that they can lock away in their save file to introduce myself, see if they have any questions, and get them my information so that way they have it in their own legacy folder or whatever the case may be. So that is coming. Should be able to expect that towards the end of the month. We are extremely excited to have that pop out. So we're really excited, but not yet. But that's our first kind of next step towards that goal.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. Speaking of that, Nick, we had a few questions here just as far as we were kind of talking leading up to this webinar. It is a little bit interesting when you think about our industry and different folks are approving things at different times. And you'd mentioned we're trying to get the approvals out there, and because a lot of things are coming out here pretty quickly. Can you speak specifically, there we go, to a few firms like LPL, I know is a large one, and maybe Osaic, and they're kind of wondering, is this available to me? Is this not available to me? What do I have access to? Can you just give us a little bit of information around that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'll just say we are working with all those firms at the home office level to kind of make sure that they're aware of everything we're putting out there, work through the compliance as quickly as we can on all those things. So just to let you know, we've got some hardworking, amazing folks connecting those dots for us and helping you as well. So for LPL, let's dive in. First of all, as I understand it right now, Strategies Builder is good to go. Legacy Center should be good to go. The ones that are under kind of review would be the Tax Center and specifically Nucleus from the AI piece, right? And there's a few things on the marketing that are a little bit on kind of a limitation aspect, but I don't think report branding is a part of that. I think it's more on the lead generation questionnaire, being able to send those out. On the questionnaire itself or the assessment itself. So anyway, it should just be Tax Center of what we showed today and Nucleus on the to be approved. We are looking to try and get approved here early Q3, hopefully, fingers crossed. But we've got teams on both sides working hard at that because LPL has taken a look at that and said, hey, this is going to really empower our advisors. Let's see if we can push that through as quickly as we can through the bureaucratic wheels of motion. So that is LPL. Anything to add from Stephanie and Chris before I jump on Osaic?
I would just say, to the surprise of no one, with AI, of course, entering the chat now, we are moving at lightning speed. Things are happening really fast. So, I mean, a big shout out to the teams that are trying to make sure that we're giving our due diligence to this. And we thank you for your patience as those teams are having those conversations. But we see you, we hear you, and we are working on that. So, yeah, Nick, Osaic was another one that we talked about as well, or that came up
Absolutely.
in the question. Yeah.
I'm not seeing any limitations on Osaic. What we're going to do though is we'll take that back, verify with the team that there isn't any issue. I didn't see complete on the verified approved list. I didn't see it not on that list. So we may just, ask for permission later. I'm kidding. We want to take a look at it, make sure we're not going to get you into any hot water. So we will reach out to you afterwards, but I'm not seeing any of the things that we talked about today on that list. But Chris, you were going to jump in.
Well, I'm just going to say, Michael asked us also about New York Life Eagle strategies as well. So we may need to follow up on that one, unless Nick, you had an answer right there as well, but we want to make sure we're answering that.
Yeah, complete isn't turned on yet for Eagle. We can give you a better, like, full answer of what's approved, what's not. We'll follow up afterwards, but I know that complete's not yet on their offering, but we can definitely touch base with our account manager on both sides and see what we can do with you. Mariner, look at you all go, just jumping in there. Mariner, not yet on complete. I do know that they have actively looked at AI. We're very talking to them very closely about AI and some of the other cool things that they're building with AI. So we can get back to you to make sure that we're not talking out of school there. But I don't know that completes on the contract right now. But I don't know that it can't be, especially if there's some desire for that. So
Yep.
there you go.
Perfect. Talking Out of School was the name of my lunchroom band in junior high. Coming up to the next question here for you, Nick. The AI note taker, does that maybe replace things like Jump, a Zox, something like that? How should we frame that AI note taker inside of Nitrogen?
Great question. I think that it can, if that's what you're looking for. I think it does a great job on the meeting prep. We're also incorporating more of that meeting prep and meeting notes within Nucleus. You're going to get kind of that synergistic awesomeness. And again, towards the end of June, we're going to have even more Nucleus built in that'll help with some of that meeting prep and meeting notes as well. So if you wanted to, it absolutely can. Contact our team if you're interested in that. It's kind of an off menu aspect sort of a thing, but we happy to turn that on, let you demo test it as well if you're looking at complete. So let us know.
Absolutely. Gang, I know that we're a little bit over time here. So for the folks that have time to stick around and answer, we've just got a couple more questions here that we want to get through. Otherwise, we know if you got to jump, calls or stack up sometimes throughout the day. So thank you so much for joining us if you need to jump here. But we will just wrap up with a couple more questions here and then we will call it a day here. Stephanie, next one is coming to you here. We've got two more questions here. If you have 12 different individual stock portfolios, mutual funds, ETFs that are different based upon custodian and allocations ranging from 0 to 100 to zero allocation to 100% allocation, all of which are constantly changing. Is the custom strategies the best way to import all of these? So going back to that custom strategies that we showed off a little bit earlier, a lot of our models are very customized, and we're hoping to use this as a full proposal tool for our clients. Great question.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Custom strategies would be super good for that. You can enter in the performance information, whether or not underlying holdings change. So I would definitely say yes.
Awesome. TL comedy, I don't know. When I retire, we'll see. Nick says, don't quit your day job. So, yeah, don't. All right, here we go. Last question, Nick, coming your way. Nitrogen complete. Oh, New York Life strategies. We already talked about that. We're going to follow up on that. So, gang, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us. Our next session is going to be okay, Nick. All right, go ahead.
There was one more you missed. Can you beta if you're with
Oh,
LPL?
I missed
Let
that. Sorry.
us,
Thank you.
yeah, we will add you to that list. It kind of depends on a lot of factors. So we'll put you on the list, know that you are interested. Thank you so much for that. It kind of depends on all the things, but we'll let you know.
Yep.
Back to
And
you, Chris.
all right, thank you. We'll just wrap it up here. I've got the producer screaming in my ear here that it's time to wrap it up. Our next webinar is going to be on Legacy Center. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. That's going to be on July 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be sending out communications on that. So keep an eye out for that. And if you answered into the poll here, we'll make sure to get you registered ahead of time. Nick, Stephanie, Nick, whatever order you want to be in here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you all for joining us. We know that you have a lot of decisions to make during your day. We're glad that you joined us for this one. We will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody.